Hello everyone, Niklsun here, and welcome to Coming Soon Movie News with Niklsun. I'm your host, and on this show we're going to be breaking down all of the day's movie news and kind of giving a little bit of background into what it all means for the production in general, such as casting decisions, trailer announcements, movie announcements, things like that. So, without any further ado, let's get into today's main topic. And the main topic that they've come out with today is Fox has actually announced the release dates of a slew of their upcoming films. The first one being, even though the first one is not out yet, the release date for the Fantastic Four 2 has actually already been announced, and it will open on July 14, 2017. Now, this means one of two things, at least in my mind. It either means that Fox is extremely happy with what they've seen so far with the Fantastic Four reboot, excluding, I don't know if a lot of you heard, but a few days ago, maybe even a week ago, a rumor came out that Fox was going to be abolishing the entire project altogether, that they were getting rid of the cast, they were getting rid of the writer, they were getting rid of the director, and starting all over from scratch. None of that is true. There's no reason why that would be true. The main point with that, at least as to why it wouldn't be true, is the guy who wrote the Fantastic Four, the new Fantastic Four movie, is Simon Kinberg. And Simon Kinberg, about 3 or 4 months ago, maybe even a little bit longer, was recently announced as Fox's head of their cinematic universe. He's going to oversee all the X-Men movies and the scripts, all the Fantastic Four movies and the scripts, and then eventually the crossover movie that they're doing. So, with Fox coming out and saying, oh no, we're going to scrap this movie entirely, we're going to get rid of the writer, that made no sense because they've hired him to oversee all of their comic book projects. So that really, when I heard that, I kind of chuckled at myself. That didn't make any sense whatsoever. They wouldn't have just recently announced the cast like 2 weeks ago. It was all crap. None of it was real. But with them announcing already that they're making a sequel, and they're making it within 2 years, like it's 2017. The first one will be out in 2015. Second one will be out in 2017. That shows that they have a lot of hope for this film. Same way that Spider-Man, with the Amazing Spider-Man, came out in 2012, and then the second one came out in 2014, or is coming out in 2014. Third one will be 2016. Fourth one will be 2018. That shows that they have a lot of hope for this project. They have a lot of faith in it, that they feel that the direction they're going is very good. What they've seen from director Josh Tranks looks like it's going to work really well in their new updated universe. So with them announcing the Fantastic Four 2 to come out just over 2 years after the first one, that shows a lot of promise. The other thing is that it shows that Fox is really willing to go with any franchise that they have, albeit the quality of the project. I mean, look at X-Men Wolverine, or Origins Wolverine. Look at Last Stand. I mean, Last Stand had a few really cool sequences in it, but overall it was a terrible film. It really wasted a lot of the characters. I mean, Cyclops was only in it for about 5 minutes. Jean Grey was completely wasted as Phoenix. She played off more of a campy, hokey villain than she did an actual dark entity in this world. So, as far as I stand right now on this gives me hope about Fantastic Four. I actually really like this move. The fact that they're announcing the sequel already, to me that means that they have a lot of hope in it. That they are willing to lay their cards out on the table to say, listen, this is our plan, this is what we're doing, we're very excited about what we've got coming out in the first one, now we're going to be moving on with the second one already, and hiring a writer, and getting Simon Kinberg to come in and oversee all that stuff. So that gives me a fair amount of faith in this upcoming project. So my worrisome has been reduced a bit. I do like the cast that they have, even though I'm not really happy about the age demographic they're going with the film. But I do like the actors that they got to play them. They are very good actors. So the second movie that they announced is the third standalone Wolverine film, and they've stated that that's going to be opening March 3rd, 2017. This comes off the heels of James Mangold talking about his ideas that he might have for the film that I talked about a couple of days ago. But also, the one thing about this is that Hugh Jackman has not signed on for it. He stated that he will return for another Wolverine film, or even playing the Wolverine character, as long as the script is good. Now, this could mean that the storyline that they've got is intriguing him, and so he said that as long as the script's good, I'll be on board. I really like where you're going with this. A lot of people online have been hoping that they'll do the Old Man Logan storyline, and if they do that, then that will be Hugh Jackman's final vow as Wolverine on screen. And I would be very happy with that. We're at a point now where he's played the character for so long that it's almost time for a reboot. But with the Wolverine sequel opening March 3rd, 2017, that's 3 years away. Just under 3 years now. So they're in the planning stages of that film. We know that James Mangold is coming back. We know that John Logan is coming back to write it. So there's not really anything else that we know about the movie other than Hugh Jackman might be involved. But I do have a feeling that if he is involved, that will be his last time as Wolverine on screen, and he will bow out and he will allow someone else to come in and kind of reboot the character as it were. So um, the one thing that I've been stating this all along, and I knew that they were going to be doing another one, is Marvel has actually, Marvel has announced a third or fourth movie in the Phase 3 lineup, and it's actually going to be opening up on July 13th, 2018. So that is going to be the final film that will lead into Avengers 3, which will finalize Phase 3. We still don't know what movie it is. It's just an unannounced Marvel film. The only movies that we know of in Phase 3 that are coming out are Ant-Man, Captain America 3, which will be opening May 6, 2016, and then, actually, wait, hold on. If it's July 13th, 2018, that means that it most likely will be after Avengers 3. That will be the first film of Phase 4. Interesting. I am willing to put money on that then. If that's the first movie of Phase 4, I'm willing to put money on that. That's going to be Black Panther. There's no room for Black Panther in Phase 3. We already know that. With them doing Cap 3, Ant-Man, possibly Thor 3, and then Doctor Strange, 4 movies, and then we got Avengers 3, and then moving into Phase 4. That will most likely be Black Panther then. I would have said that that would have been Doctor Strange or Thor 3, but that's looking more likely that it's going to be Black Panther. If that is indeed, if it's, because it's July 13th, 2018, and Avengers 3 most likely will be out in May of 2018. That'll be a 3-year gap between the Avengers films. So, yeah, I'm gonna put money that that's Black Panther. Marvel's really knows what they're doing. They are executing things well in advance. They're not pulling a DC where in the midst of getting ready to shoot a film that they're going to have to backtrack it because it doesn't fall in line with their other plans. No, they've got enough plans in the works. Like I said, if you watch the Assembling a Universe documentary that they had on Tuesday, you really got to see how long they've been working on all these projects and how long they've been waiting to instigate all of these things. So they prepare very early on for all of these films, and if this is indeed the first film of Phase 4, I'm really looking forward to it, and it shows how much they're willing to expand. I do have a feeling, though, that as of Phase 4, we are going to see some of the main casts be changed. Because it makes sense to have a trilogy of phases, have Avengers 1, 2, and 3, and then change up the lineup, either changing up the actors who are playing the characters or change the characters entirely themselves and bring in new people. They have so many directions that they can go with. I hope they don't take the safe route and just keep their main core characters and just bring in a one-off character for a movie and then either kill them off or just write them out. But yeah, I have a good feeling that that's going to be the first film of Phase 4, so that's really exciting. I never even picked up on that until I was really just looking at it right now. The second last film that they announced is Taken 3. I talked about that, I believe, earlier on in the week or later last week. That Liam Neeson, Famke Janssen, and Maggie Grace were all returning. Luc Besson was returning to write the script, and I mean, even though his films are not really original anymore, you gotta give credit where credit is due. I mean, the guy's responsible for Fifth Element, Leon the Professional, the Transporter series. Some people have questions about the Transporter series. I loved the first one. I thought it was very entertaining. And a lot of people come to me and say that you love a lot of movies that are kind of bad. And when I say that I love them, I don't mean that I think that they're quality filmmaking. They do exactly what they're intending to do. The Transporter series is high-octane action with a stoic main character who is fairly quiet, kept to himself, but has his own moral code, has his code of honor, and just goes and kicks ass. That's what I was expecting from the movie. That's what I got from the movie, and the action sequences were pretty cool, so therefore I really enjoyed it. A-Team, I keep bringing this movie up. A-Team is probably, in my personal opinion, one of the most underrated movies out there. It got slammed by critics, but it had no intention of being a critical success. Obviously, they strive to get a lot of people to like it and to people to recommend it, but when looking at a movie, it's not meant to have the best character development. It's not meant to have an overarching storyline that will rival a Shakespearean play. It's not meant to be like that. It's meant to be, again, high-octane action, really fun, interesting characters that you kind of sit back, you can throw your mind at the door, you can just sit there, eat popcorn, have a soda, and just enjoy the movie. And that's what all of Luc Besson's movies have been. Taken 2, the brain should have been left in the car as opposed to just at the door. That movie, the grenade sequence in that was just dumb. And I hope that Oliver Megaton coming back and directing it, I did like the direction that Taken 2 had, better than Taken 1, but the storyline and action sequences in Taken 1 I felt were better than in Taken 2. They made a little bit more sense. But in Taken 3, no one gets taken. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go from there and what the overall storyline is. But that movie will be opening up January 9th, 2015. I suspected it would be January or February that it would come out, and they've guaranteed January 9th, 2015 is the release date for that film. And the last movie is Matthew Vaughn's The Secret Service, which has been filming for a while. It was originally supposed to come out sometime in 2015, I believe in either March or April, but they've actually bumped it up to October 24th of 2014. Now, for those of you who don't know, Matthew Vaughn is the man responsible for the original Kick-Ass, as well as X-Men First Class. So the guy has a very deaf ear and very good eye when it comes to films, especially this type of genre. And The Secret Service, from what I can remember, is set in the 60s. It stars Henry Cavill, or sorry, no, that's Man from U.N.C.L.E. This one stars Colin Firth, and I am drawing a blank on the other actor who was in the movie. But The Secret Service is set in the 60s. It's a graphic novel adaptation about the initiation of a new recruit into the Secret Service. And with Matthew Vaughn's style of comedy and action, I'm very much looking forward to this. And an October release date makes sense, especially considering that there are now several different periods throughout the year where movies are released. You look at January, February. January, February are generally called the dump months. That's where the studios will look and see that we got a whole pile of films that we don't really know what to do with. They're not trending as well as we thought they would. The visuals are not coming in as well as we thought. The editing is not coming in as well as we thought. All that jazz. And so then they'll open them in January, February. Now, occasionally movies can come by and actually really surprise us in those months. But for the most part, those are the dump months. March has been turning into a early blockbuster month where some studios will release big tentpole films. Look at the original Hunger Games was released in March. Alice in Wonderland was released in March. You look at the upcoming Noah is being released in March. Divergent is being released in March. Jack the Giant Slayer was released in March last year. I mean, not all these movies are great, but they're big tentpole movies that are separating themselves from the big summer movie season because they may be a little bit more fun or maybe not be able to compete with some of the larger films that are coming out in the summer. So, and with Wolverine sequel coming out in March of 2017, they're seeing this as more of an early summer blockbuster time. April has always been a weird month. Studios are trying to get April to be part of the summer movie season now. With Captain America releasing I believe Fast and Furious 5 and 4 were released in April. Fast and Furious 7 is releasing in April of next year. It's kind of a weird time. Then you get the summer movie season, which goes from May until the end of August, which have just all the big blockbusters, the massive R-rated comedies, the high concept films will all release in the summer movie season. And then you get September, October. September, October is kind of September and the beginning of October are kind of an early dumping ground for the movies that they thought would be released in the summer, but they weren't as good as they originally thought. Look at Resident Evil. Every Resident Evil movie, for the most part, has released in September. What are some of the other ones that are released in September? Well, you got Labor Day weekend right there, which is a weekend where movies are not released. That's the cutting off point for the summer is last week of August, and then the next week, the first week in September, does not have any new releases, and then they go into the middle of September. But October is starting to become the Academy Award worthy blockbuster films. You look at Gravity was released in October of last year. You look at the Meet the Parents movies were all released in October. Several different movie projects have always been released in October. November and December are now the award season, and even the heavy blockbusters that are contending for Academy votes, like the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies, were all released in December. Hunger Games Catching Fire and the 2 parts of Hunger Games Mockingjay are all being released in November. You look at the Avatar sequels. Avatar came out in December of 2009. The Avatar sequels, Avatar 2 will be out in December 2016. Avatar 3 will be out in December 17. And Avatar 4 will be out in December 2018. So all these big high-profile movies are all released, so they've really segregated out where each type of movie lies and possibly even the quality of the movie. And with Secret Service getting a late October release, that has me kind of intrigued. They've moved it out of a summer movie season. They bumped it up like 6, 7 months, which means they have a lot of hope for the movie. It's tracking a lot better than they thought. With it coming out in late October, that bodes really well, and it's going to be possibly another win in the Matthew Vaughn book. Which I was hoping for him to come back and direct X-Men Days of Future Past, but we got Bryan Singer, who was the godfather of the X-Men franchise. A lot of people say that they wanted Matthew Vaughn because of First Class. I really liked his visual story, or his visual style, but the overall story is what I really liked, and a lot of people don't know that Bryan Singer actually wrote the idea. He wrote the story of that movie, and then he got these other guys to come in and write the script. So when people say that, oh, I wanted Matthew Vaughn to come back because First Class was a much better movie, Bryan Singer was directly responsible for one of the main aspects of that movie being good, and was the storyline that they chose. The fact it was in the 60s, the fact that Magneto and Professor X were friends at the beginning, and then they kind of separated apart, and what happened with that, why Xavier was walking around, why he ended up getting in the chair, all these things, and coinciding that with real world events in the past was breathtaking. That was amazing. It was so well written. And that came out of a thought that Bryan Singer had. So him coming back and doing Days of Future Past has me intrigued, and I cannot wait for Monday to see the first full trailer for the movie. We saw the teaser, which didn't really have any finished special effects in it. Now we're going to see what the Sentinels look like in motion. We're going to see what all the past storyline is going to evolve. We're probably going to get a better sense of the plot of the movie, and what it's going to entail, and how much of the comic book they're actually going to adapt, as opposed to just keeping the name and the general storyline. So that'll be really interesting to see. Well, now is going to be the first edition of our user-related questions. So, as I asked a couple of days ago, anybody who has a topic or a question they'd like to have answered on the show, or at least talked about, send it in, put it as a comment, or email it to movienewswithniklsun@gmail.com. And so I had a couple of people asking some questions, and so I felt that I would address them as best as I can. So the first question that was asked is, what's the status of the upcoming R-rated remake of Stephen King's It? And so a couple of things have come out very recently about this project, actually. It hasn't been officially greenlit. They've greenlit the script, they've greenlit the director coming on, and the most interesting thing that I love about this is, how do you pronounce his name? Cary Fukunaga, who directed True Detective with Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey, is actually set up to direct the film. And what they've done is they're doing it almost similar to how they did the 1991 miniseries, where they're going to be splitting it into two big segments, and they're actually going to be doing two separate films that will most likely be released between 6 and 12 months apart from one another. So they're going to be doing the first film is going to be about when the kids are young and actually being terrorized and attacked by Pennywise. And then the second film will focus on when they're adults. And actually, one website I was reading had a few what's called Dreamcasts, and they had the one pick that they had for Pennywise I didn't really agree with. They had Tilda Swinton in there as Pennywise. If I had to pick anybody right now off the top of my head, would probably be Crispin Glover. And people who don't know Crispin Glover, he starred in the remake of what was the rat movie? Where he controls the rats. Oh, it starts with a W. I can't remember. It came out about 10, 11 years ago. But he was the father. He was Marty McFly's father in Back to the Future. So anyone who knows him, he was in contention to play the Joker when Heath Ledger was cast. A lot of people want him for all these really quirky, weird roles. Willard is the name. Willard was the remake that he was in, where he can control rats, which was a very weird movie. But he was so creepy in the movie. It was so well done. I would love to see him tackle Pennywise. I think he would do a really good job. As for any of the other roles, it could go either way. I don't think that they need to adhere directly to the book. They need to stick closer to the book than the miniseries did, that's for sure. But in terms of getting specific actors, doesn't really matter. As long as you get really good talent to be in the movie, then I'm fine with it. But as it stands right now, there's not been any release date announced for it. We do know that Fukunaga is attached to direct, and he still is. He gave an interview about 2 months ago stating that we're still going ahead with it. We're still moving forward, but they're having a lot of trouble really adapting it and making sure that they don't end up like the miniseries did. Although the miniseries is the direct reason as to why I have a terrifying fear of clowns because I was shown that movie when I was about 4 years old when it first came out, and it terrified me. But actually, one thing I would like for you guys to comment on is who you would like to see play Pennywise. So if you go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section below, let me know who you would like to see Pennywise, and argue amongst yourselves as to who you think would be the better or the worse Pennywise. So I think that'd be really great. The next topic that I'd like to talk about was what is the status, or that I was asked is what is the status of the adaptation of The Dark Tower? And so The Dark Tower has seen its fair share of development hell. The movie was announced, and it was actually greenlit, and they were moving forward with it about 2 years ago, I believe, about 2 or 3 years ago. And all of a sudden, the plug got pulled on it. They had Javier Bardem from No Country for Old Men and from Skyfall. He was going to be playing Roland Deschain, and all of a sudden, the movie just fell apart. Whether it be budget, whether it be script issues or anything like that, it never really came out, but it fell apart. And then about 6 months later, Ron Howard stepped in and decided he was going to bring back Javier Bardem. Then he ended up going and switching the cast over to Russell Crowe. So Russell Crowe is the person right now who is lined up to play Roland Deschain if they do the adaptation. Whether that sticks when they actually go ahead and do the film is another thing. But their main intention for the project is very ambitious, and this is one of the reasons why it hasn't been greenlit yet. Because the story is so expansive. It's 8 novels. It's like 4,500 pages in total. And to narrow that down to 1 2-hour movie, or even just a trilogy of movies spread out over 3 or 4 years, is very difficult. So what they're hoping to do is Warner Brothers, who owns the rights to the book, and they own HBO. So what they're planning on doing is having the first feature film be based on the first book, and then between the release of the first and second film, they're going to have between a 10 and 13 episode series, which is going to take place over the course of the second and third book. And then the fourth book will be the next feature film. And actually, sorry, I believe the second feature film will be a combination of the fourth and fifth book, if I'm not mistaken. And then they'll have another television series which will bridge the gap between that story and the final book, and then the final feature film will be the final 8th book in the trilogy, so that they can get all the content of the book. The biggest problem with it is that the storyline is told in a very non-linear way, and what that means is that it's not told in a strategic timeline like 10 a.m., 12 p.m., 2 p.m., 4 p.m. It would be, 2 p.m., 10 a.m., 12 p.m., 8 a.m., yesterday, tomorrow. Like it's done all like that. Time doesn't make sense. Time and space are all kind of weird in this world. It's actually, I'll read off kind of what the main storyline is. The story follows Roland Deschain as he searches for the Dark Tower, which is said to be the hub or nexus of all universes combined. Even time and space have been affected in this world as time doesn't flow the way that we're used to, and things happen differently, such as the sun possibly rising in the north and setting in the east. So with magic and futuristic societies being involved in this kind of old style western, like it's set kind of in the 1800s, 1700s, more 1800s. But there are futuristic societies which have now been kind of destroyed already, and there's magical elements in the world, but not as many. But all these tears are causing all of these problems to happen, and all these time jumps, and the fabric of their universe is actually collapsing. It's a very intriguing story, but the two main problems with it is A, it's a non-linear storyline, so how do you make sense of that, or at least how do you get the audience to make sense of that? And B, it has to be rated R. If you know any of the content of these books or the graphic novels or anything like that, it has to be rated R. Very violent, very there's a fair amount of language. The subject matter alone is just very dark, so the movie has to be rated R. And with Ron Howard coming out and saying that we're still working on it, we're still working away on it, they just need to get they need to get a studio to back them unflinchingly and say, we trust you, we have faith in it. If the TV series doesn't do well, so be it. We're going to make that back with the movies, but here you go. Here's your pile of money. And I don't think Warner Brothers is in that spot yet, which is weird when you think about Warner Brothers has, they have the upcoming Godzilla. They have the Harry Potter franchise. And Warner Brothers, they have, oh, why am I drawing a blank on it? I'm having a hard time with that today. They have, I think, the largest block of franchises outside of Marvel and Disney. So they have a lot of income coming in, essentially. They do back a lot of expensive films, and sometimes those don't work out. Um, but they have a lot of money to play with, and they probably are in the safest position to take a risk like this. And I hope that a company does, because one thing we're seeing right now is all the studios, every year they get more and more restrictive of the projects that they're willing to put money into. The last major original film project that I remember they put a lot of money into was Pacific Rim, and that was a Warner Brothers project. And it broke about even. It cost about 190, or sorry, I believe it was about 170, 180 million dollars, and then they put about 30 to 40 million dollars into the marketing. So it's about a 210, 220 budget. The movie made just over 400 million, which means it just broke about even. A lot of people will say, no, that made double. Well, no, it didn't. When you take into account the overall budget, let's say the movie was to make, it was to cost $220 million to make, and it made $220 million. That is not it breaking even. The theater chains take at least 25 to 30% out of that. So right there, if that's 220, you're going to take about 60 million out of that. So now you're down to about 150, 160. So now you've actually lost money. And then you got to take producers deals and back-end deals and actor contract deals out of that, which could be another 30%. You know, so right there, you've now taken 60% of your overall income out of what the studio's actually going to make back. So if they put $200 million into the movie, they need to make at least double that to actually break even because of all the back-end deals they have to pay out. And a lot of people just don't understand that. So that's kind of how a quick little intro into how that stuff kind of works. But I'm really intrigued as to how bold they're trying to be with this adaptation, and I hope it eventually gets greenlit, because Ron Howard, for a while, it looked like Ron Howard was going to leave because no one would just accept the project, no one would greenlight it, and he had been working on it for years already, and no one was willing to even give him a second glance. So he was about ready to drop the project, and then Akiva Goldsman came in and really started to help him with that. And Akiva Goldsman, for those of you who don't know, was his co-writer, or sorry, he was the guy who wrote the script for A Beautiful Mind, which got them all their Academy Awards. So that's what we know about The Dark Tower for right now, and if we do get any more information about it, I definitely will update it on here. And we have one more topic to talk about today, and that is, what is the status of the current movie version of Entourage? And so with Entourage, we know that Entourage is currently filming right now, and they're going to be releasing on June 12th, 2015. So we got just over a year to go. Mark Wahlberg did an interview not too long ago and stated that his main idea for the film, and what he wants to take away from the film, is that it focuses just on the core group of guys. It focuses on Vince, it focuses on E, it focuses on Drama, Turtle, and Ari. And get away from all the secondary characters that they've introduced over the years. If they do that, that's awesome, because I stopped watching the show after about season 5 or 6. It just got so repetitive. It wasn't really going anywhere. There was no more problems in the show other than Vince just being a big coke addict. Outside of that, there was nothing really there to watch the show. It was just Turtle was launching his record label, and nothing was really happening on the show. It was just like there. It was more of a reality show than anything, and that's never what I thought that that Entourage would be seen as. And when you look at the list of cameos that they've had over the years, you know that they're going to have a lot of cameos in the movie, and they've actually already released a few. They actually released a photo of the Liam Neeson cameo, which looks hilarious. There he's giving the finger to Ari as he's driving away. So I think there's going to be a lot of fun with that, and a lot of the cameos are going to revolve, I think, around Ari's character. We also know that Seattle Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson will be appearing in the movie in a cameo, and it looks as though Tom Brady is also set to appear. Bob Saget will be coming back. The two that I hope for the most, these were the two that had the biggest impact on me. I hope Val Kilmer returns, because he was such a funny character. And I hope that Gary Busey will return, because Gary Busey, I don't even think he had a script. I think he was just acting like he normally acts, because that guy is insane. That guy has lost his marbles. And he's got the big-ass chiclets in his teeth as well. So there is some speculation that Gary Busey may have already filmed some scenes for this movie. Not anything with credence behind it, but there are some speculation that he's already filmed his scenes. And if that's the case, I hope it involves Drama, because Drama hates him. But that's all we know about the movie so far. They haven't released the official plot. We haven't seen, outside of that one photo of They showed the one photo of Liam Neeson, and they also showed the crew, the main five guys, just I think doing a hangover style scene and walking through an airport. But outside of that, we don't know anything about the film yet. We're probably going to get a trailer sometime in the fall, or around Super Bowl time. I cannot see them not putting an Entourage trailer in front of the Super Bowl. That would be like them not doing a football movie and not having that trailer in front of it. Like, look what they did. They did that with Draft Day. Draft Day is not a big movie at all, and it's coming out, I believe, in April or May. And they put a trailer of that on the Super Bowl. Not a big movie at all, but they needed to do that because it's about football. So if they were to do a thing about Entourage, and Entourage being about celebrity lifestyles, they have to put a trailer like that in front of the Super Bowl. It only makes sense. So I hope we're going to see some more stuff about this very soon. But if they have to only include one thing from the show outside of the main cast, I hope that it's Val Kilmer returning to do another cameo because he was so funny. Well, that'll about do it for us here on Coming Soon, Movie News with Niklsun. Thank you guys so much for watching. You've been really, really great audience. If you go ahead and click the subscribe button, you will receive updates whenever I will post another episode. You can also watch any of the past episodes that I have. And one thing I've been noticing too, some comments have been being put into some of my older episodes about things that I've missed. Watch the next episodes that are involving those topics, and you will see the new updates, because that was obviously done before that announcement had come out. But don't forget to click the subscribe button so that you will get the updates on the new episodes, and also don't forget to follow me on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Niklsun, Niklsun, to get all of your movie updates as soon as that information comes out, and I will try to cover it on the next episode if I can. And as you guys are aware, for the next foreseeable future, I am going to be doing episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So don't forget to check back on Monday's episode where we will be talking about the new X-Men Days of Future Past trailer. Well, that'll about do it for me here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to click subscribe, and you guys have yourselves a great day. Enjoy.